Hello, welcome to the Daily News Ukraine channel. Today is March 6th and our daily review of news about Ukraine. On the morning of March 6th, Russian aggressors again shelled the village of Kozatsky, Kherson region. A woman was injured. This was reported by the Kherson Regional Military Administration on Telegram, according to Ukrinform. In the morning, the village of Kozatsky, Nova Kakhovka community, came under shelling again. A woman was injured, the report says. It is noted that the enemy shelled the village with artillery and dropped explosives from drones. Read also, War Update, Ukraine Army repels over 95 enemy attacks. A local woman was injured in the leg. The ambulance team took the woman to the hospital, where she was provided with necessary assistance. The condition of the injured allows continuing the treatment on an outpatient basis. Several houses in Kozatsky were damaged, but their owners were lucky to avoid injuries. As reported by Ukrinform, Russian forces opened fire on Kherson region with heavy artillery and Grad MLRS 74 times in the past 24 hours, killing 3 people, including 2 children. The Cabinet of Ministers of Ukraine has appointed Semen Kryvonos as director of the National Anti-Corruption Bureau, NABU. The government approved the relevant decision at an extraordinary meeting on March 6, Ukrinform reports. Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal recommended that Kryvonos be appointed to that post, and the government supported his proposal. At the meeting, Shmyhal emphasized that he considers all 3 candidates selected by the Competition Commission to be professionally prepared for the managerial positions at NABU. Read also, Shmyhal, last year was most difficult for government, but it managed to achieve economic stability. The Prime Minister also recommended that the newly appointed NABU director to consider the possibility of appointing 2 other candidates, Serhiy Hupyak and Roman Osipchuk, to the managerial positions at the Bureau. Given the independence and professionalism of the Competition Commission, there is no reason to doubt the independence and honesty of each of them, candidates ed. I recommend that the newly appointed NABU head to consider the possibility of appointing 2 other candidates, Serhiy Hupyak and Roman Osipchuk, to the managerial positions at NABU, Shmyhal said. The term of office of previous NABU director Artem Sitnik ended on April 16, 2022. The NABU director is appointed and dismissed by the government. Almost 8,500 unemployed Ukrainians joined the Army of Recovery project, according to the Economy Ministry. The Army of Recovery project, aimed at engaging people who have temporarily lost their jobs in community service to rebuild the country, is gaining popularity. Today, it is being implemented in 13 regions, with Dnipropetrovsk and Lviv regions joining the project recently. Since the beginning of this year alone, 4,900 unemployed people have been engaged in community service, and a total of 8,500 people have been involved since the project was launched, said First Deputy Prime Minister, Economy Minister Yulia Sviridenko. Read also, Social Policy Ministry announces 20% increase in minimum pensions. According to her, people engaged in this work are paid at least UAH 6,700, which is higher than the average unemployment benefit. Overall, the state has already paid nearly UAH 56 million to members of the Army of Recovery for the work they have performed. The leaders in terms of the number of unemployed people engaged in community service are the following regions: Poltava region, 2,621 people involved, Donetsk region, 1,350 people, Kyiv region, 1,193 people, Sumy region, 1,179 people. In 2023, the budget of the compulsory state social insurance in case of unemployment envisages UAH 104 million for socially useful works. As reported, the Army of Recovery project was launched by the government in the autumn of 2022 to engage people who temporarily lost their jobs in rebuilding the country through community service. In the past 24 hours, the police recorded 29 enemy attacks on 14 settlements in Donetsk region. Civilian casualties were reported. The main directorate of the National Police in Donetsk region said this in a statement published on its website on March 5, Ukrinform reports. The police of Donetsk region documented 29 Russian attacks on the civilian population. During the day, 14 settlements came under shelling. Enemy projectiles killed and wounded civilians, the report says. It is noted that Russian troops shelled the cities of Avdiivka, Bakhmut, Volodar, Kramatorsk, Kurakhov, Chasiv Yar, the villages of Hryshine, Vermivka, Dakhny, Ivanivsk, Karlivka, Krasnohorivka, Lastakino, and Orlivka. The enemy used Kh-59 air missiles, S-300 air defense systems, Grad and Smerch MLSR, artillery, tanks, mortars, damaging and destroying 15 residential buildings and an educational institution. Read also, War Update, Ukraine Army repels over 95 enemy attacks according to the police. Russian attacks killed a person in Bakhmut, as well as injured other people. In addition, residents in Ivanivsk and Volodar were also injured. In Lyman, a civilian was injured as a result of the detonation of an enemy mine. The police and SBU opened criminal proceedings under Article 438, violation of the laws and customs of war, of the Criminal Code of Ukraine, the police said. As reported by Ukrinform, with the assistance of the police, 93 more people were evacuated from Donetsk region on March 5. Since the beginning of mandatory evacuation, more than 48,619 people, including 6,467 children, 2,356 people with disabilities, have been evacuated from the region. Ukraine's second-seeded tennis player Marta Kostyuk has won the inaugural ATX Open in Austin, the United States. In the final of the competition, number 8 seed Marta Kostyuk defeated Russian Varvara Gracheva 6-3, 7-5 in 1.5 hours, Ukrinform reports. The 20-year-old Ukrainian collected her first WTA singles title. Photo, ATX Open. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has included First Deputy Minister of Defense Alexander Pavlyuk in the composition of the Supreme Commander-in-Chief Staff. The decree to that effect, number 129/2023, has been published on the website of the head of state, Ukrinform reports. On February 14, the Cabinet of Ministers appointed Pavlyuk as Ukraine's first Deputy Minister of Defense. The National Bank of Ukraine sold $289.39 million and bought $6.55 million on the interbank foreign exchange market between February 27 to March 3. According to Ukrinform, such results of currency interventions have been published on the website of the central bank. In total, since the beginning of 2023, the regulator has sold $5.748 billion and bought $58.9 million on the interbank market. In 2022, the National Bank of Ukraine sold $26.38 billion and €1.789 billion and bought $3.267 billion and €110.97 million on the interbank market. Photo, NBU. Russian invaders launched a missile attack on Kramatorsk last night, destroying a school, and in Avdiivka, shelling of the old and central parts of the city continued throughout the night. Pavlyuk, head of the Donetsk Regional Military Administration, said this in a telegram post, Ukrinform reports. At night, the Russians launched a missile strike on Kramatorsk and destroyed a school. According to preliminary information, there were no casualties, the official wrote. According to him, one person was wounded in Volodar, and the outskirts of the community came under fire. In the Donetsk sector, the enemy used Smerch MLRS to shell the village of Dakhny in the Kurakhov community, damaging 4 two-apartment buildings and 6 private houses, an administrative building and a cultural institution. In Avdiivka, shelling continued throughout the night in the old and central parts of the city. Casualties were not recorded. Read also, 1 killed, 5 injured in Russia's shelling of Donetsk region. Kirilenko said that in the Horlivka sector, 1 person had been killed and 3 injured in Bakhmut. In the Donetsk community, an administrative building and a house of prayer in New York were damaged. In addition, 3 houses in Vasyukivka, Soldar community, and 2 houses in Chasiv Yar were damaged. In the Lysychansk sector, at least 10 houses were damaged and destroyed by the invaders in Peryazn, Svinivka territorial community. Houses on 3 streets were damaged in Siversk, and 1 more house was partially destroyed in Zarykn, Lyman community. Russian troops have already killed 464 children and injured 931 in Ukraine. According to Ukrinform, the Ukrainian Prosecutor General's office said this in a Telegram post. As of the morning of March 6, 2023, more than 1,395 children were affected in Ukraine as a result of Russia's full-scale armed aggression. According to official information from juvenile prosecutors, 464 children died and more than 931 were injured, the report reads. The casualty figures are not final as work is ongoing to determine them in areas of hostilities and temporarily captured and liberated territories. Most children were killed or injured in Donetsk region 446, Kharkiv region 273, Kyiv region 123, Kherson region 94, Zaporizhia region 84, Mykolaiv region 83, Chernihiv region 68, Luhansk region 66, and Dnipropetrovsk region 64. On March 5, in the village of Poniativka, Kherson region, an enemy projectile hit a private house, killing a woman and her two sons, aged 7 and 15. Since the war began, 3,126 educational institutions in Ukraine have been damaged due to Russia's massive bombardment and shelling, and 438 of them have been completely ruined. The Russian military has continued to respond to heavy armored vehicle losses by deploying 60-year-old T-62 main battle tanks. The UK Ministry of Defence said this in its latest intelligence update published on Twitter, Ukrinform reports. According to the update, there is a realistic possibility that even units of the 1st Guards Tank Army, 1 GTA, supposedly Russia's premier tank force, will be re-equipped with T-62s to make up for previous losses. These units had previously been due to receive the next-generation T-14 Armata MBT from 2021. British intelligence said that in recent days, Russian BTR-50 armored personnel carriers, first fielded in 1954, had also been identified deployed in Ukraine for the first time. According to the ministry, since summer 2022, approximately 800 T-62s have been taken from storage and some have received upgraded sighting systems which will highly likely improve their effectiveness at night. However, both these vintage vehicle types will present many vulnerabilities on the modern battlefield, including the absence of modern explosive reactive armor, the report said. Today we were talking about those news. Woman injured as Russian invaders shell village in Kherson region. Government appoints Semen Kryvonos as NABU director. Almost 8,500 unemployed Ukrainians join Army of Recovery project. Enemy shells 14 settlements in Donetsk region over past day. Marta Kostyuk wins first career title in Austin. Zelensky includes Pavlyuk in Supreme CinC staff. NBU sells $289.39 million on interbank market last week. Russian missile strike destroys school in Kramatorsk. Russian army kills 464 children in Ukraine. Russia replenishing armored vehicle losses with old T-62 tanks, UK intel.